coming up on today's episode.
In a non-speaking role. I know.
couldn't believe
At
that
the
one.
end of the movie,
Yeah.
you see him. It's like, wait a minute. It took me some time to realize, to me, the insanity of expecting respect.
Man, I gotta stop doing this.
The beauty of this movie is that we get down to the core of who these people really are.
The answers that you're looking for are lying just beyond the frame.
Hello and welcome aboard. Welcome to our podcast listeners and YouTube viewers. Ryan and I are here to talk about how to make the perfect fajitas. But before we do that, perhaps we could chat about a movie, work up an appetite.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Okay, let's do that instead.
What movie are we going to talk about today?
Well, Ryan, since we both watched it, let's talk about the 2001 film made by Antoine Fuqua, and it's called Training Day.
Training Day.
I think you've heard of it. I think you've seen it.
I may have heard of it.
Yeah. Did you just watch it again this morning?
I just watched it for the first time ever.
Wait.
Last night before bed.
That was the first time ever?
First time I'd ever seen it. Wow. Yeah. We'll get into that.
We are going to get into that.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll save the juicy details.
Please. I think Ryan and I, you could say that Ryan and I are both really excited to talk about this. Before we turn on the cameras and the mics, we talk about how much we struggle not talking about these things before the camera and the mics go on.
It's funny because when we see each other, hey, how's it going? How you been? And then it's like, that movie. And then we're like,
exactly.
Hold that thought.
Exactly.
We got to wait till we turn everything on.
Exactly. And something I really enjoy about doing this show is that we are both so genuinely enthusiastic about talking about these movies that
thankfully
we cover.
we have some good picks.
Yeah.
So it's easy to talk about.
And today's pick, I feel good about it.
Oh, yeah.
And if you have been in a cave for a long time, it stars Denzel Washington and Ethan Hawke. Can we call it a classic, Ryan?
I think so.
I think we can. I think we will.
Yeah.
What the hell? I just did. So
it's a classic.
It is a classic, and it was written by David Ayer. And I want to give you a little background on David Ayer, a la IMDb.
Oh, okay.
David was raised in Bloomington, Michigan, and Bethesda, Maryland.
Bethesda.
And as a teenager, he was kicked out of his house. Don't know why, but that's pretty brutal to do to a teenager. And then he came to LA and lived with a cousin. And his experiences of South Central LA informed and inspired his later projects, like Training Day.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we all benefited from David getting kicked out of his home and coming to LA.
Sometimes good things come out of something
Exactly. So although Ryan and I only seek to enhance your appreciation of the movies we discuss, there will be spoilers. So consider yourself sufficiently warned if you haven't seen this.
And this is one of those movies that
you
the
need
spoilers
to see.
could ruin them. Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
And that's true. This is one of those times because I've had friends say, I listened to your podcast and it made me want to see the movie.
Right.
And that's something we definitely want. And it didn't spoil it for them.
For sure.
But this one, you're right. Because of the particular plot points.
Yeah. The writing.
Yes.
Just certain things could be revealed that will maybe spoil
Exactly.
part of the fun of the viewing experience. At least for me.
So if you've been meaning to see it for the last 24 years, do something about that, okay?
Sure.
Okay. So please leave us a like and subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube. And thank you so much if you're listening to our podcast. You can try to leave a like, but sometimes that's harder than it should be.
Yeah, why do they make that so difficult?
I know. So anyway, Ryan, shall we dive in?
Let's dive in, man.
Let's
I'm
do
ready
it.
to talk about this.
Okay. It was so hard to pick. Ryan and I, let me back up a little bit. Ryan and I try to pick some themes, for our episodes, for the movies we've watched or the TV series we've watched. And it was so hard for me to just come up with two. So I've kind of split the second theme into, I've given it a slash. It's kind of this slash that.
You've narrowed it down.
Exactly. So first, before we get into those themes, something I found particularly compelling, Ryan. Thinking about this, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Do you expect people to respect you? I don't just mean people but people you encounter in daily life. So that could be a barista, a joyous LA driver, your server, in a restaurant, anyone you encounter out
Yeah.
there in life, you know? So yeah, I'm just curious if you have that expectation.
Sure, that's and that's the word I'm going to use. Is that I think there's hope. I think I don't expect people to respect me. I hope that they will.
I like that.
I
It's
think
a really
hope's
good
a
answer.
different word because expect means it carries a different connotation, right?
Doesn't
it carries
it?
a different meaning. And
Doesn't it?
especially in the context of this film, because the characters we're going to discuss here, there is a level of expectation of respect.
That's right.
Like just based on what you've accomplished or what you've achieved or the reputation you've built, that somehow people should just automatically respect you. And I don't think that's the case. I'm also not someone who this movie explores a lot, the earning of respect and the process of earning that respect from someone. And I don't necessarily believe in that either. Like, I respect anyone regardless of who they are. And I would hope that that would be reciprocated. But if not, I'm not crushed because I don't expect it.
I love that. I love that.
Does that answer the question?
It answers it beautifully.
What about you? What do you expect people to respect you?
No, and I don't, and I think I did for a long time.
Okay.
And I realized that I was setting myself up for disappointment, and I was setting myself up to be upset and potentially get angry. And it took me some time to realize, to me, the insanity of expecting respect.
Where was that coming from? What kind of place was that coming from where you were expecting
know,
respect?
Quite frankly, I think I just didn't have sufficient self-respect. And part
okay.
of it, so if I don't have it for myself and I'm not giving it to other people, why the hell should I expect anyone would give it to me?
Yeah, it's kind of like how you want other people to love you, but you don't love yourself.
Yeah.
Kind of similar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think there's a similar vein to that. So no, I do my best, just like you, Ryan. I love how you put this, because I have a general respect for people. I might not like them, but I will respect them.
Of course.
You know, and there's a huge, that's a really important distinction, because
You
I
don't
think
have
a
to
lot of
like
people,
everyone.
That's right. And a lot of people, though, I think if they don't like someone, they don't respect them.
Yeah.
And I think I'm not going to get on my high horse, but I just personally think that's a mistake.
Sure.
And so respect is a theme that runs very strongly through this movie.
Oh, does it? Yeah.
So, you know, and like I was saying, for a lot of people, there is like a contingent dynamic with respect. I'll respect you if you respect me, but if you don't respect me, I won't respect you.
Yeah.
And they go into situations expecting respect, and when they don't get it, they get like I used to be, they'd get upset. And this is not a winning formula.
No, because you feel slighted.
Yes, exactly. You do. And
It feels like a personal attack.
That's
when
right.
somebody doesn't respect you when you are expecting it.
That's right.
Expectations set you up for failure a lot of times, man.
oh my God, don't they?
I've been kind of learning that in the last couple of years of my life. I've been
Yep.
trying to figure out that when I go into a situation with expectations and those expectations aren't met, it's so much more crushing
yeah.
than if I
totally
would have
agree.
just went in with a blank slate
Yeah.
or an
Yeah.
open mind.
Isn't that funny?
Hard to do, by the way. Not easy.
Very difficult to do, because look, I think having that kind of expectation is almost like holding up an invisible hula hoop and wanting people to jump through it.
Yeah. That's a
And they're
great
not jumping
analogy.
through it. God damn you, you're not jumping through my invisible hula hoop.
Yeah,
Bad you.
Why aren't you doing it? Yeah, don't
exactly.
you see it? Yeah.
Right. And so that's where it took me some time to realize it's the dynamic within my head that I've already set up. Which will be it's like setting yourself a trap,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So, and this is where I want to get into, you know, Detective Harris in this case, played by Denzel Washington.
Boy, man, it's so like
Whew.
he's so unbelievably good. It's hard to even fathom.
Well, he did win an Academy Award for a good reason.
And he absolutely should have.
I think I don't want to get ahead of myself, so I'm gonna.
So much of this movie surprised me, by the way.
In what
just
sense?
before we deep dive into this.
Yeah.
First of all, I know it's LA, so it makes sense, but Snoop Dogg, love it.
Yeah. Dr. Dre.
Dr. Dre,
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that. Terry
Yeah.
Crews in a
Yeah.
non-speaking
In
role.
a non-speaking role. I know.
couldn't believe
At
that
the
one.
end of the movie,
Yeah.
you see him. It's like, wait a minute.
He's the muscle. He's like the guy that's just there to look scary.
Oh, and he did that really well.
Sure.
Yeah, that was excellent casting.
So a couple of times I'm going, man,
yeah.
that's so and so.
Yeah.
You know, and I loved that. And then also
Yeah.
too, I thought the writing was so unbelievably good because I never knew what was going to happen.
Yeah. Couldn't
I
agree with you
never
more.
knew.
And me either, the first time,
Yeah.
obviously, because this was not the first time I'd seen it. But this is where, and again, spoilers, y'all, once the movie unfolds and it gets where it gets, and I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, you look back retroactively at the whole movie and you see it differently.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
It all makes sense.
Exactly. And this is the kind of movie that, to me, begs a second viewing.
Yeah.
Because then you go back and watch it,
You can see all
knowing
those things you missed.
right? And just see, oh, Detective Harris was, shall we say, diabolical.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Oh yeah. He was very. I mean, like he says in the movie,
Calculated and-
everything was. I've been planning this for a week.
right? I love how Ethan Hawke, we'll call him Jake, played by Ethan Hawke, says at one point, "You've been planning this all day." To which Detective Harris, "I've been planning this all week," like
Yeah.
what you just said.
Sure.
And I loved that. And when you look back and you see, oh, this was absolutely his plan. But again, we're getting ahead of ourselves. So
Yeah.
So Detective Harris, you could say just he gives no respect.
He wants
know?
it. He wants a lot of
He
respect.
wants it,
but he doesn't give it
but he
out.
doesn't give it.
Yeah.
And that's part of the genius, I think, of this movie. So this lack of respect, shall we say, that he doesn't give, it will come back to bite him in the ass.
Oh, will it?
Almost literally. It shot him in the ass. It didn't bite him in the ass, but it did shoot him in the ass.
He did catch a bullet right in the ass cheek.
So this is why I want to talk about. I could talk about this scene for the rest of our episode.
What scene are we going to talk about here?
Well, it's
Which
not
one
the
are you-
opening sequence. Was he wakes up and we see his wife for the only time, but it's when he meets his. Okay, so training day is his one-time shot to see if he's going to get recommended to be on the narcotics squad.
Yeah.
And so he's going to ride along with Detective Harris, and so he meets him at this diner.
Okay, love this.
I gotta say, I went back and I watched that scene 3 or 4 times.
He's so good.
He is perfect.
Yeah.
They both are.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
both are perfect.
Great
and
casting.
As an aspiring actor, I watched that scene over and over with awe.
Yeah. The beats, the timing,
The
the
subtlety,
facial expressions,
Exactly.
the subtleties, it's all there.
and the writing, to your point earlier, is so good.
And it sets up the dynamic for the rest of the film.
Exactly. And it's such a great way for this movie to get started.
An incredible example of an establishing scene.
Absolutely.
We meet our characters. We've already seen Ethan Hawke, sure. But here's
Yep.
where we really get a little bit of who he is.
Yes.
So we
That's
meet the
right.
two of them and we understand how their dynamic's going to play out for the entirety of the film.
Yep. That's right.
And it's short scene too.
Yep. Yep. So it is a short scene, and there it is so packed. There is so much in it. So from the onset of the scene, Harris gives no respect to Jake. Don't get me wrong. I know that Harris is trying to make points, with how he operates, about how things are on the streets, things Jake should and should not do. But underlying all of it is, you could say, a foundational lack of respect
Oh,
for
yeah.
Jake. He doesn't acknowledge Jake when he sits down at the table to join him. Didn't acknowledge him at all. And then Harris tells Jake to order some food. It's going to be a long day, and he'll pay. And Jake says, "No, thank you. I already ate." And the way he comes back, okay, okay. Okay, fine. Like, be that way.
Right,
Meh.
right.
And
Yeah.
that tone, I back that up. I didn't do a very good imitation of it, but it was just, it said so much.
Oh yeah, his attitude right off the rip was like,
There was so much dickishness
oh
woven
yeah,
into
it was like, who is this guy?
yeah, he's just a prick
acting
from
like his,
the onset.
he's higher than everybody else.
Oh my God, yes.
on
He
his
was
high
acting
horse,
like the
man.
ultimate baller.
Yeah.
So Jake tries to make conversation, and Harris replies, "May I read my paper?" By the way, did you notice what he was looking at? Because you could see the paper.
I was gonna look at this, but then I just kept watching. I didn't pause it and go back. What was it?
A NASDAQ chart. He wasn't reading the paper.
He was just looking at
He was talking about how he loves the stories. He reads it for entertainment because 90% of what's in here is bullshit.
Yeah.
I read it for the entertainment value. And since you won't let me read it, why don't you tell me a story, Jake?
He's just looking at the
Entertain
stocks.
me. And he's looking at stocks. And I thought, that just elevates your dickishness because you're not even reading it.
What an asshole.
Totally.
Just making a point.
And that had to have been on purpose. That had to have been on purpose.
Oh, yeah, because he can't be read. I thought, what would be funny is if he was reading the obit.
Yeah.
If he was reading the obituaries, that would be good.
That would have been good. But no, he was looking at his stock
looking at the
portfolio.
stocks, okay.
Yeah, which I doubt he
Which
had.
we know he didn't have.
Exactly. So eventually, he said, "Will you let me read my paper?" And Jake says, "Okay, well then I'll get some food." And Harris shoots back, "Oh hell no, you won't. You fucked that up."
Yeah, you lost your chance, man.
So now he's at a complete loss. So Harris tells Jake to tell him a story, like I was just saying, and during Jake's story, Harris also manages to disrespect lesbians by using a slur to describe them.
He's talking bizarre for somebody that you just met. I mean, the language he's using is insane.
Yeah, well, he's making so many assumptions.
It's so callous.
It's so callous. It's so alpha dog. You could say he's peeing all over this territory to establish that he is top dog.
Yeah, he's the man, and you got to respect him.
Yeah, and I mean, even when it looks like he's enjoying the story, he's not. He's kind of laughing at Jake.
Yeah.
For telling, in his estimation, such an insipid story.
Right.
Harris says, he asked who your training officer was, and it was this woman. He's like, "You tapped that ass, didn't you?"
Yeah, dude, it was just so disrespectful the way he was talking. It's crazy.
And then Jake says, he says, "No, I've got a wife," but he completely disregarded the fact. That he had a wife.
Sure.
He didn't care that he had a wife.
Sure.
And
later on in the film, I don't know if you talk about that scene too, but there's another scene where he's talking about his wife too, and just extremely disrespectful.
Well, this is maybe it was this.
Okay,
in the car.
okay, maybe.
So the office is Detective Harris's car. So they get in the car, and Harris looks at Jake, and he goes, "You got a kid, right?" And Jake says, "Yeah, baby girl." And Harris says, "I've got 4 boys. You need a son, let me know. I'll hook your old lady up. I can't miss."
Dude, those are fighting words.
No, that's exactly what I thought. That is a
words.
fist meets face
Yeah,
at high speed kind of situation.
Ultimate disrespect.
I
But
will shag your wife if you want a son.
Right. He's leveraging the fact that he's in this position of power over him.
Yeah.
He needs him.
Absolutely.
He's like, "I'm your golden ticket.
Yeah,
You need
that's
me,
right.
so I can treat you like shit, and
That's
you're going to put
right.
up with it."
That's right.
And he puts him through the ringer, man.
Yep. He sure does. So Jake rolled with that one, his superior officer offering to shag his wife to give him a son. And he says, "Can we not talk about my family?" And I don't know if you remember this, but Harris, you know how he replied to that? He goes, "I respect that." And then he went on to talk more about Jake's family. Mm-hmm. He goes on to talk about Jake's wife and the sex they must be having. A real charmer, that Detective Harris.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
what a great guy. Somebody you really want to hang out with.
And again, like Ryan and I are saying, it establishes such a dynamic because, look, Jake wants to get on the narcotics squad because ultimately he wants to be a detective. And this is one of the steps you have to go through. And Harris knows that. And Harris even says, "Why do you want to become a narco? I want to get the bad guys off the streets. Come on, tell me why. I want to be a detective." There you go.
There it is. Mm-hmm.
So everyone knows what's going on here. And Jake has to, in essence, play along.
Yeah, he's got to put up with a crock of shit that's getting thrown at him.
He does. And
It's abuse of power.
it's absolute abuse of power, and it sets up such a fantastic dynamic
Oh, yeah.
for what's to come.
Uh-huh.
And there are, look, you could also say that Detective Harris is truly trying to like toughen this kid up and get him ready for the streets and strip him of, the sheen of naivete that he has about him, because you can tell that he's green. You can tell he has
Morals,
and values,
an ethical code.
And look, he's gonna see the worst in human nature.
Yeah.
And it's gonna challenge that, and it's gonna diminish some of that sheen. But the beauty of this movie is that we get down to the core of who these people really are.
Yeah.
And there are more and more extreme circumstances as the movie gets on, and what shows what a person is made of more succinctly than high stakes situations.
Absolutely, 100%. Where your life's on the line.
That's right. And we have another episode we're going to talk about.
We're going to talk about that a lot.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that a lot. And that is, again, part of the value of movies, is looking at these extreme circumstances that you personally might not ever be in. Hopefully, exactly. And try to, how would I handle this if I were Jake? And my superior officer is demeaning me in every way possible.
Yeah,
demeaning
talking about shagging my wife
and me, and just being such a dick,
making me smoke.
Yeah,
PCP.
Oh my God. So I think this is a perfect time to take a bad guy break. What
Let's
do you think?
do it.
Let's
Yeah,
do it.
absolutely.
Before we jump into the next scene.
I'm curious to see. I say this every time, but I am always genuinely curious to see who you chose, given the context and given the theme here.
Okay. So we're going to be talking about I'm talking about a movie here from 2004.
Okay.
The setting is present day Mexico, China, Los Angeles. It moves around.
Moves around. Okay.
I love the genre. This is straight out of IMDb. One person army action.
Person army action. What? I love that.
I know. I love that too. It stars David Carradine.
David Carradine. I'm thinking of like one person army action.
Well, the one person army, I'll tell you this, and it'll probably give it away, is Uma Thurman. She is the one person army action.
Oh, is this Kill Bill?
This is Kill Bill 2.
Kill Bill 2. Okay.
And the reason I chose this is because the bad guy, Bill, radically underestimates the good woman, the good person.
Oh, just as
in Training Day.
Just as Detective Harris
Correct.
is
Radically underestimating Jake.
Sure. And that's what I mean about this movie being so unpredictable, because there were times, as a first time viewer, where I'm watching and I'm thinking, oh, this is just part of the shtick.
Absolutely.
The Detective Harris is just kind of trying to put him through, trying to test him.
That's right.
And I think he
has one day to do it.
And he does have good intentions. There are times throughout where I'm thinking he's just being hard on him because he wants him to be better.
That's right.
And he says to him several times, like, I can get you there. Give me 18 months.
Right.
I can make you detective.
That's right.
And so it's like, it keeps me like, is this guy bad? Is he good? Is he? There is a turning point, and we'll probably talk about it.
Yes.
But there is a point in time in the film where I go, oh no, screw this guy.
Oh yeah.
This guy is.
Well, that was a really, I think, pretty obvious time.
Yeah.
When he left Jake behind, shall we say, at one point?
No, I was before that.
Oh, definitely before that. Like
when he kills the
Roger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the moment where I was
Correct.
like,
correct.
Okay, this guy is different. We're on a different level.
It was also a turning point for Harris with Jake.
Uh-huh. What do you make of him? He kept saying he had the eye. He's like, you got the eye and I like it. And I see it. There's something in you. Was he just filling his head up with air?
That is a brilliant question. Again, looking back, once you know how it ends, even looking back after you know how it ends, no, I don't think he was just filling him up with air. Now, granted, he had to keep him on board a little bit longer because he needed Jake to serve a purpose to complete his plan.
Yeah.
No, I think this is where I think he genuinely surprised Detective Harris I think he genuinely did. But to argue against myself, part of what made me think perhaps he could be blowing him air is when Jake steals the shotgun from him and puts it on him so fast. And Harris is like, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm looking for. Like, wow, his reaction was so quick.
Yeah.
But I also think that he was genuinely taken because Jake showed more backbone in 5 minutes than I bet all those other narc agents in there showed combined.
Yeah. Agreed.
I don't want to get ahead of myself though. So
That's why I'm like holding back. I'm like, I don't know if
I know.
there's so much good moments, so many great scenes, so much layered fun to dig in
I
this film.
completely agree. There's something I really appreciate too is Denzel. We watched Gladiator 2.
Well,
That was Denzel just having a good time.
yeah, and he was great.
And he was great. He was the most entertaining part of that movie.
He was the most interesting part of that film.
And look, he was just, I think he must have had a good time doing that. I think he was probably the only person who had a good time making that film.
Sure.
But he was exaggerated, and it was appropriate for that role. And I loved the subtlety that he used here. He did not overplay it.
No.
And I think that's part of what makes this such a nuanced and spectacular performance that was just pitch perfect.
Agreed.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Every movement, every
Yeah.
inflection, everything was just spot on, man. I couldn't take my eyes off it.
Yeah, me either. Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, phenomenal. So the other scene I want to talk about, and the other theme that I want to discuss is courage. And this, I'm going to give it a courage / incorruptibility.
Incorruptibility.
Yeah,
Okay.
which is an actual word.
Thank you for clarifying.
This is something that Jake showed in several scenes. So let's discuss one in particular. While a passenger, and we've alluded to this already, in Harris's car, and high as a satellite from smoking PCP and having a whiskey at Roger's house.
Yeah, this guy's getting smashed.
Yeah,
on the job.
he's really, I'm thinking he's going to be so hungover from his first day on this job.
Yeah.
So Jake, as they're driving, Jake spots a woman, turns out to be a 14-year-old girl, being raped in an alleyway. And again, people, he is high as a satellite is right. I mean, he's just, they're trying to
great
show
descriptor.
what the world looks like through his eyes.
And it's like, that's nightmare fuel.
Right. He's struggling.
He's in it.
So Jake starts yelling to Harris to stop the car. And he does so, with growing urgency. And Harris eventually does. Hoyt runs back to the alley and proceeds to beat the shit out of these two junkies who were attempting to rape this girl.
Yeah.
And Harris eventually walks up. I think he started, got out of smoke, started smoking. He did nothing
Yeah, he was
to help
just looking
him.
on.
And he had already told him, do not get involved in the petty stuff. Don't
Right.
get involved in the small stuff.
Right.
Let the black and whites worry about that.
Yeah.
Well, here he is smoking the petty stuff. And these two, junkies did not just roll over. They put up a fight.
Oh, did they?
And Jake had to really fight.
He took a couple shots.
Yeah. And Harris got to see, and I think he was surprised by how well Jake handled himself.
Uh-huh.
And something of note prior to this, like I said, he'd said, don't get into the petty shit. And at the same time, here he is stopping a violent crime and doing what cops should be doing.
And it shows where Jake's heart lies.
Exactly.
He is interested in getting the people off the street.
Yes.
Because he's upset when Detective Harris doesn't want to book him.
That's right. He
lets him go.
We're just gonna
let these two guys go. They're just trying to rape this 14-year-old girl.
Yeah.
What are they going to do tomorrow?
Well, and then he was saying that they'll be taken care of in other ways, and they're too small a fish, and it's not worth the time and what have you. And this is where will Jake? I would love to see Jake in 10 years. Does he stick to his guns, or does he get to the point like Harris where he just sees these guys aren't worth it?
Yeah, because there was a lot of times in the film where Detective Harris looks at Jake and he says, I was there. I know what you're feeling right now. That was me. I was the same exact way. I know that look.
And I loved that scene because it felt like for the first time, Harris was being earnest.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was the first time. And
There was
that's
something
why
genuine.
I thought he wasn't just blowing smoke at Jake.
Exactly. That's what I mean. The
Because
unpredictability of this movie.
Exactly. And that's part of what makes it so tricky, is because you could see Detective Harris really meant it when he said, what he saw in Jake. He recognized it. And I think that also fueled his ire, his hatred, his aggression. Was that he freaking hated himself
Yeah.
for
yeah.
how much he sold out.
Uh-huh.
And I think he's looking at this young guy who has the spine that he does not have.
And he's uncorruptible.
He is incorruptible.
Yeah.
And that is phenomenally rare in this world.
Absolutely, 100%. Especially in a field this grueling, it pushes you to places you have to do shit you don't want to do.
That's
You-
right.
you
That's
know?
right. Well, so leading to the scene that we alluded to earlier, and that is the bust at this guy Roger's house. Now, Roger used to be a cop, and then he became a bit of a drug kingpin. And they had visited him earlier in the movie. Oh, by the way,
Such a great moment.
do you remember that when Roger says, Hoyt, strong safety, and Jake's like, wow, yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
how'd you know?
And he said, what? He only followed the good ones.
Yeah.
And he's talking about when Jake was in high school, because he was an LA native. And that was one of the first moments that you saw Detective Harris look at Jake and go, huh, like,
Strong safety.
yeah,
huh?
and exactly. So
Yeah.
this kid has toughness.
Right. He wasn't expecting
And
that.
he had a shimmer of respect for him. Very unlike, like you were saying that you'd respect people if they did something, if they didn't, it's not like if they achieved something, you're going to respect them
It's not
more.
situation dependent.
But as I'd alluded to earlier, it is absolutely a contingent thing with Harris that, first of all, you have to respect me. And then if you've done something to earn my respect, you just might get it. Maybe, So the next one, if we have time to talk about this one real quick, is the bust at Rogers.
Yeah.
And now Jake is told at some point after they dig the money out, $4 million, Harris tells Jake to shoot Roger.
Yeah.
And both Roger and Jake think he's kidding.
Yeah. He's like, bang.
Yeah, and he said, and
they're
Jake,
laughing,
Jake
they're
says,
kinda-
no, I'm not going to shoot him. Shoot
like,
him.
what are you,
I'm
crazy,
not going to
man?
do him. And he grabs the gun, right, and shoots him.
It's the same as the smoking the PCP.
That's right.
He's like, wait, you're not going to smoke this?
And by the way, there was, to me, it made sense that he would smoke it, because Harris is making a good point. If you're hanging out with these guys and you're not going to do the drugs with them, they're going to know that, what are you, a cop?
You're a narc, 100%.
Have a line, have a hit.
Yeah, yeah.
It makes sense.
If you refuse it over and over
That's
again, they're
right.
going to be like,
one of the things he
is a
said
cop.
in giving them PCP. Sorry, people were jumping around a little bit. Hopefully, you're
which he
following
thought was
this.
weed, by the way.
Right.
He thought it was just some shitty weed.
Well, Jake thought it was shitty weed.
Yes.
Harris knew it wasn't.
He knew it was PCP.
Yeah. So he knew it was laced. And then he's like, oh, this is old stuff. And that was bullshit. And one of the things he said to Jake was, if you're going to be a narcotics agent, you got to learn to love narcotics. I'm like,
Yeah, what is
so
that?
full of shit.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So-
So this is similar, where he's asking him,
Yeah.
like,
So
do
shoot him.
this thing.
Yeah.
He
And
doesn't
he's-
have it in him.
And he says, wait, what do you mean doesn't have it in him?
Like, Harris knows that Jake doesn't have it in him. He's not going to shoot him.
Doesn't have it in him, but you can look at the flip side of the coin. He has it in him to say no.
Yes. He doesn't have it in him to shoot this man who's essentially unarmed.
Right. And right. And if you're going to bust him.
Yeah.
But to just kill him,
Yeah.
and so Jake stands up to Harris. Harris shoots him. And then Harris gets all the other narcotic agents who were there to agree. Jake shot him. Everyone says Jake shot him. And Harris tells Jake, you'll get a Medal of Honor for this. And Hoyt says, I didn't shoot him. You did. So Harris then imitates a newscaster reading a story about a narcotics agent killed in the field during a bust. And Harris points the shotgun at Hoyt, who, in a quick motion, takes the gun, and now points it at Harris and says, "That's the second time you've pointed a gun at me. There will not be a third." I loved
Yeah, that was such a good
I
scene.
stood up.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah.
I imagine if this was in I wish I could go back to when it was in the theaters. I imagine people would be like,
The way, and Ethan Hawke just delivered that so perfectly.
"Oh, it was great."
I went back and watched that a few times.
Such a good
too.
moment. Such a good
So
scene.
great. And to top it off, not only does Jake not take the payola,
Which was
250K cash,
Quarter million.
$250,000 cash,
Yeah, he says, "Buy your wife something nice."
but he punches one of the narcotics played by Dr. Dre in
Yeah.
the face.
Yeah.
And I loved that. I mean, think about this. He's not doing what he's being told to do by the guy who could make his future. He's not taking the payola, which makes the other guys suspicious of him. And then he has the balls to clock one of them.
Yeah, because they all want to shoot him.
They all do want
They're like,
to
"We gotta
kill
waste
him.
this guy.
And
He's a
it's actually
liability."
Harris who's like, no. Like, wow.
Because I need him.
And
we don't know that
we
at the point.
Right. We didn't know at the point. At that point in the movie, we thought that Harris saved him because it's like he sees that Jake has got something special.
This is what I'm saying. This movie it continuously kept me guessing.
Yeah.
It continuously kept me.
It's genius.
I just did not know what was going to happen next at any moment.
Yeah.
And it was shot really well too, because
It
there
sure
were
was.
times that the way that the camera was set up also led you to believe, I don't know where this is going to go. There's a shot and I can't remember it, but it's towards the end of the film.
Okay.
I think it's when he's outside at the end
We're going to talk about that.
and there's a shot of a gun and a pack of cigarettes.
Yeah.
And
That's
it
right.
rack focuses to the cigarettes at the last second because you don't know. Again, I'm going,
What's he going to pick
pick
up?
the gun up?
And he picked up
And he picked up
cigarettes.
cigarettes.
Yeah.
It's just brilliant. This
It is
just-
brilliant.
This is one of the better movies I've ever seen.
Well, I loved it. So you
I
can't see
was-
me, people who are listening to podcasts, but I'm smiling because I freaking love this movie.
I was kicking myself for this has been on. You just have movies that you've always wanted to see,
Yeah.
and they're just on your list. That list in your head of like, yeah, I gotta see that one day. I should watch that. This is that movie where it was just always there, and I was just never the right time or whatever. And then as I'm watching it last night, I'm going, man, I gotta stop doing this. I gotta start watching these movies. That all those movies in the list in my
Yeah.
head, I'm about to start watching them.
Well, and we've got the perfect excuse to do that, don't
Yeah,
we? You know,
exactly. I
this
deprived
show.
myself of years of
You did.
watching this
You did
film.
truly, and hopefully we're inspiring some people out there who've maybe never
Please.
even heard of the movie.
This movie is
to take a look at it.
unreal.
And I do want to, before we wrap it up, I do want to talk about this last scene because to me, this is what this scene culminates, and it brings the themes together of respect, of courage, and incorruptibility. And that is the final scene at the baby mama's place.
Yeah, we're 39.
Okay. Should I go for it?
Yeah, do it.
Okay. So this is the end of the film, and it takes place outside of Harris's baby mama's place, and Jake had already been left for dead with gang members that Harris hired to kill him. I didn't say that well. That was grammatically horrific. Harris had paid some gang members to kill Jake, and he left Jake with them and goes to baby mama's place. Well, these guys didn't kill him, and you know why they didn't kill him? The guy who had the shotgun to Jake's face, well, they're taking, first of all, the other guy takes everything out of his pockets.
Looking
and
for money or whatever.
He finds that 14-year-old girl's wallet, the 14-year-old girl that wasn't raped because Jake interceded and beat those guys up.
And who is that 14-year-old girl?
It's the cousin of the guy who's got the shotgun at Jake's
Pointed at
face.
his face. Yeah.
And now this guy, because the other guy's like, hey, man, isn't this your cousin? He looks through the wallet, sees a picture, he's a school ID.
He's like, what?
And now this guy's furious. And so Jake tells him, I
saved
stopped
her.
these guys from assaulting her. He's like, yeah, I'm
Calls
going
it.
to call her right now.
Yep.
And she said, yeah, this guy, I was going to get raped or something.
This
the
white
way
cop.
she put it. I was going to get raped or something. And this white cop stopped him. What does he look like? He's a white guy, looks real young. And the guy's like, whoa.
Uh-huh.
So Jake had been told not to deal with the petty stuff. He dealt with the petty stuff. He was told not to bring up his family in the course of work. He brought up his family because then he says to this guy too,
I've got a daughter.
What slowed him down was I've got a daughter.
Yeah.
So he appealed to this guy's heart, and that guy had a heart.
Yeah. 100%.
I actually really liked that guy.
Me too.
I thought he was a really, really excellent
I
character.
like all three of those guys.
Me too.
They're great actors. I've seen Breaking
Yeah,
Bad.
exactly. Breaking Bad.
They're great.
Oh my God, he was so good in Breaking
Yeah.
Bad.
Yeah.
So Hoyt survives that, and then he goes to Baby Mama's place to go after Harris. I love that.
Yeah,
This
as
guy is
soon as-
on a mission, and
Yep.
he is
He's hunting
bloodied.
him down.
Oh my God.
He's got to stop this guy.
Yep. So right. So Jake goes to hunt him down, and he goes to Baby Mama's place. In a previous scene, Harris had told Jake to never go to that neighborhood without him. Jake not only shows up in that neighborhood, but he walks through it bloodied and holding a gun.
Yeah, he's just walking through the street with a gun by his
And
hip.
boy, is he noticed.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
people are out on their front steps.
Yeah, they're going, "You should not be here. What are you doing here?" Yeah.
And when he gets to the building, the guys guarding the entrance let him through. And I really like that. By the way, the guy who let him through was the technical advisor to the movie.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that they get all the gang stuff right.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
And
Very
he's the
cool.
guy who later put the gun
Yes.
on the ground. Okay.
I loved that whole thing too because we saw earlier when they went,
And we're about to get
they
to that.
begrudgingly let Harris through, and then he says something about like to the effect of, "God, I hate that
Yeah.
guy." Yeah.
Right. And why? Because he doesn't show respect to people.
Yeah.
So Hoyt and, Jake and Harris, I thought it'd be easier to say Jake than Hoyt and Harris all the time, eventually have a showdown in the street, and everyone in the neighborhood is out to witness it. And as Jake says to Harris, it's no fun when the rabbit has a gun, is it? Because he is pointing a gun at him. I just love that.
Yeah, because you got to be a wolf, is what Harris kept saying.
That's
You
right.
got to be a wolf. Are you going to be a wolf?
Right,
You
exactly.
gotta be a wolf.
Exactly. And so Harris says to everybody who's out there, he'll make anyone rich who will kill Jake.
Nobody moves.
No
a
takers.
muscle.
Jake says, they're not like you. And you know what I learned today? I'm not like you.
So good. So good chills.
So Harris again asks for someone to drop Jake. So Bone, played by Clay Sloan, who was the advisor on the film, looks at Jake and then pulls out a gun and puts it on the ground and tells Harris he's got it backwards. He's got to put up his own work around there. Ultimately, Bone picks up the gun that he had put on the ground for Harris, or, if Harris
And
wanted to take
points
it or
it
not. Right.
at Harris.
And tells Jake to bounce, that he's got his back. He and everyone out there did not have respect for Harris because he didn't have respect for them. And ultimately, Jake's courage was visible to everyone out there. He earned their respect.
Mm-hmm.
Go
ahead, take off. We got this.
Because, there are sharks in the world.
Yeah,
I don't mean,
oh yeah.
I mean people who are sharks.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what sharks can see? Other sharks. They can see people. They can see people who are, potential patsies,
Okay. Yeah.
and they can see other sharks. And they see. I'm not saying that they saw a shark in Jake. I think what they saw was strength. I think they saw courage,
Bravery.
incorruptibility,
Yeah.
and
That
exactly respect.
That's respect, and that earns respect when you see someone who's stands on 10 toes,
That's right.
who doesn't take shit.
That's
and
right.
who sticks up for the
Right. And here he is going toe to toe with this badass cop who had that neighborhood, kind of on edge,
yeah.
because he was like, I'm the king of this neighborhood.
Right.
And oh yeah, look, Rookie is taking you down.
Respect.
Amazing.
yeah.
So
And then comes
yeah.
the iconic scene, like him saying to them. It's the only scene I've ever seen of the film because people just talk about it and show it places. But where Denzel
please
is yelling,
give the line.
and he's like, "Oh yeah, oh that's how it is, huh?"
Yeah. Yeah.
And he says some other choice words, but
Yeah. which he ad-libbed. Yeah, that was
That's how it's gonna be, huh?
yeah. That was so good. That was so good. So my final thought, can we put ourselves in Jake's shoes and say that we would take on the junkies in the alley, that we would say no to the guy who can help us get what we want professionally, that we would say no to $250K, that we could have the courage to go hunt down a highly decorated officer. And if I'm being totally honest, I don't know that I could. Sure. I really don't.
Sure.
But, being honest with oneself is the first step towards becoming something more. And that's something that I would like to be.
Yeah, I respect.
I aspire to
I
that.
respect that.
You respect that.
I respect that.
I love it. I love
Absolutely. Yeah. No. 100%. I mean, this is why we do this podcast.
That's right.
These are the types of movies we want to explore because they do frame it against yourself, and you do walk away from this. Hopefully, I know I did with a sense of understanding about human nature.
Yeah, great way to put it. And at the same time, this is where film is such a phenomenal medium because you could take it also just as entertainment.
And boy, it's entertaining as hell.
It is so entertaining.
Yeah.
See it, people. Even if you have seen it, see it again.
See it again. Yeah.
And
refresh that memory.
That's right. And you can take it, again, to the theme of this show that we're doing, is you can take it as so much more.
Yeah.
So if you like those, I'm gonna recommend 5 what I call brave cop movies.
Brave cop movies.
Yeah.
Okay, love it.
So the first one is Serpico, starring a young Al Pacino as real-life cop Frank Serpico, who stood up to massive corruption only to get hunted by other cops. Yeah. Oh yeah, you got to see it.
Wow.
That is on MGM Plus.
Okay.
If you have that. Number 2 is Fargo, the movie. Exactly. Starring Frances McDormand and William H. Macy.
Coen Brothers.
Everyone is great in this classic Coen Brothers film. So please watch that on Prime Video. If you haven't, that's one of those, don't let all those years go by. See this freaking
that's
movie.
A definite. Yeah. So is this one.
And the next one I'm going to recommend, number 3, is Silence of the Lambs, starring a frighteningly good Anthony Hopkins and a brave Jodie Foster. You can stream that on Pluto TV.
Great picks.
Number 4 is Dirty Harry, starring Clint Eastwood. Sure, he carries a big gun, but he's got ice water in those veins, baby. You can watch that classic, which also showcases San Francisco in 1970 on Prime Video.
I have not seen that one. I'll check that one out.
Oh, you got to. It's got some classic
I won't let
lines
that
in
one
it,
go. Too many years.
Good to hear. And the last one I'm going to recommend is Black Klansman, starring John David Washington, Denzel's son, and Adam Driver, about a black police officer who successfully infiltrates the KKK.
What a
It's
movie.
Based on a true story. You can watch that on Prime Video. So, wow, Ryan and I could have kept going, but I'm just going to wrap it up and say,
there's so much more to say.
So
but
much more to say. We're going to have to say that off camera.
for the sake of time.
So, y'all, thank you so much for joining us today. And remember, as always, you're the main character of your own life. So don't be afraid to take a step back and look for the bigger picture, because sometimes the answers that you're looking for are lying just beyond the frame. We'll see you next time.
Peace.